Do not skip the nuts. I repeat, do not skip the nuts. It is absolutely important for this to work because we're making a Dubai chocolate bar inspired Tunnel of Pistachio Bundt cake. All right, that was a mouthful, so let's just call it the Dubai Tunnel cake. And we're gonna see if we got that ooey gooey center made famous when it was first made back in 1966 and won second place in the Pillsbury Bake Off. And since Shake Shack released their Dubai chocolate shake and even It's Boba Time has their Dubai Frappe, I have been wanting to put kataifi and chocolate on more desserts than I care to admit. So let's get ready for this mashup of two greats. Dubai chocolate bar meets the Tunnel of Fudge. Here's how I did it. Start by preheating the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, let's get toasting the kataifi. First, I'm going to take the defrosted kataifi and chop it up into nice small pieces and strings, tearing it apart to get rid of any large chunks. Once you have all this kataifi ready to go in a preheated pan, I'm dropping 2 to 3 tablespoons of butter and I'm starting to let it melt in the pan. Then, add 75 grams of kataifi and toast it until it's golden brown. Now you might be wondering, Alex, this looks like a lot of kataifi you were chopping up and a lot of kataifi in the pan, and now you're toasting way more than 75 grams. And you would be right. I'm just gonna toast up a whole bunch for other desserts I've got planned and just to add to my yogurt because once you go kataifi, you never go back. When that's nice and golden brown like the desert sands of the Levant, put that off to the side and let it cool down completely. Put it in the fridge if you wanna speed that up. Next, we're going to put together the pistachio filling. In a medium-sized bowl, take 180 grams of sweetened pistachio cream at room temperature. I had this left over from when I made the Dubai chocolate bar, and if you want the recipe, I've linked to it below. If your Italian pistachio cream is still cold from the fridge, you can always warm it up by letting the jar sit in warm water. Add 60 grams of powdered sugar, 20 grams of Dutch processed cocoa powder, and 2 tablespoons or about 30 milliliters of heavy cream. Give it a pinch of salt and add about 3/4 of a cup of kataifi or about 45 grams. Once that's thoroughly mixed, you want to make sure that it is a nice spreadable consistency. If it's too loose, you can firm it up a bit in the fridge for about 5 to 10 minutes, but if it's too firm, you can carefully add 1 more teaspoon of heavy cream until you get that Nutella-like feel to it. Creamy, but not runny. Setting that aside, we can now put the cake together. I'm gonna start off by chopping up these pecans and pistachios. I did some serious chopping in a recent baklava video, so I'm doing the same technique again with the knives. Don't judge me, I'm having fun. Oh, and just so you know, originally the Tunnel of Fudge used walnuts, but pecans work well and are preferred in this house, so I'm gonna include some pistachios because the Dubai chocolate bar had pistachios. The nuts are vital to this recipe, please don't forget that. It's what creates the gooey tunnel in the middle. Adding the proper amount of nuts crowds out the flour, which means less starch, so that impacts the crumb structure in the middle. So the outside will bake up, leaving the center a little underbaked or more like a tunnel of love, soft and delicate. Also, the oil in the nuts warm up and start to coat the sugar and cocoa powder to create that molten lava center. So don't skip out on the nuts. I'm using about 1.5 cups in total, or about 100 grams of pecans and 70 grams of pistachios. You can use up to 2 cups in total, but I found with the pistachio cream and the fat content, I had to lower it just to keep it a little more balanced. Next, in a large bowl, if you're using a hand mixer, or in your stand mixer, add the wet ingredients starting with 4 large eggs and mixing all the while, adding 120 milliliters of neutral oil and 120 milliliters or 1/2 cup of milk, and just keep it mixing. Then add 1 cup or 240 grams of sour cream and a splash or about 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Then we can slowly add the dry ingredients in batches, which is 1 box of Devil's Food cake mix or any other chocolate cake mix, and 1 small box or a 3.9 ounce package of instant chocolate pudding mix. You can alternate the mixes, but just make sure it's thoroughly mixed up. You can't really overmix cake batter from a box, but I don't want you to try either. Once mostly combined, we can go by hand and ensure we scrape the bottom to get everything mixed up. But don't forget the nuts. Now, normally, when I use cake mix from a box, I like to add up mix to get it up to the old 18-ounce size, but with the dry pudding mix, you don't need to. If you're wondering, cake mix boxes used to be 18 ounces, but have shrunk down to 15 and 13.25 ounces depending on the brand,
And upmix is just a homemade way to get back to the 18 ounces and one way to save your old family recipes that use cake mix from a box. Check out my upmix video below along with the history of cake mix video as well. With the batter done, let's spray the Bundt pan really well so nothing sticks, and let's carefully add about 2/3 of the batter using a large cookie scoop. I'm going to smooth that out with a spatula, and now I'm going to carefully add the pistachio cream filling. I'm going to use my smaller cookie scoop and place it in a ring around the center, being very careful not to have any of the filling touch the sides. I'm going to carefully connect the scoops in the ring with my spatula, and once done, I'm going to scoop and cover up the top with the remaining batter. Now we pop this into the oven for 50 minutes. The trick with this cake is that you can't really test it because it's supposed to be soft and gooey in the middle. So just check the outside to see if it's crisping. Once out, let it rest for 5 to 10 minutes in the pan and flip it over onto a plate or wire rack to cool down completely. While it cools, we can make the chocolate topping. In a pot, put a half a cup or 120 milliliters of heavy cream and gently warm it up. Add 115 grams of chopped chocolate into the pot and let that melt and come together with the cream. Add the little bit of pistachio butter if you have any left over. You can even drizzle some tahini if you want, like they did with the Dubai chocolate bar, but I decided not to. And of course, I'm adding the remaining kataifi. It's about 45 to 50 grams, but you can measure that with your heart. Just know the amount of kataifi you add will thicken up the chocolate topping. Mix it all up and let that cool down to room temperature in a bowl. Once the cake and the topping are cooled, carefully slather the chocolate topping on the Bundt cake. If you add this when the cake is warm or hot, it will melt and just run off. And of course, you can make a more traditional ganache of just heavy cream and chocolate on top if you want something slick. Now chop up some pistachios, and if you have any leftover toasted kataifi, which I do, sprinkle them on top for a final touch. Now let's cut into this to see if we got that Tunnel of Fudge chocolatey center.
All right, we did it. Check out that chocolate center. Now to try it. Ooh, the gooey center. I have to say, I used dark chocolate cocoa, dark chocolate for the topping, and Devil's Food cake mix. And this is very intense on the chocolate side in a very good way. But I'll make notes in the description for you to check out if you want it a little sweeter. And I have to say that this is very, very decadent. Thank you so much for letting me share this. And if you have any Dubai chocolate bar desserts that you want me to try, let me know and I'll see you in the next one.